call, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. PSR is excited to present to you Last Call, featuring your boy, the Pimp Slap POD, Mike M.
We are live and you are here. Let's go, Billy Bridge. How you doing, Dutch? What up, brother? Bouncer, what's up, brother? LJ from the HLJ.
Mike, man, happy to be here, man.
T on the ones and twos, -7.5, the official number we'll use, and the lines move 2 points. And this is not a show to be late for.
And now, let's get to the picks.
We be pumping! The intro gets me so fired up. You guys are here. It's Last Call, and I could not be more excited. We got some new segments tonight. We're bringing back our guy, Billy Briz, and I told you guys, we got to be patient, right? It was important to get the plane in the air, and we'll fix the wings while we're flying the damn thing because we got a great show, and we've had a great month, so let's keep it rolling. Let's close November strong. 30-plus already out here. Appreciate everybody dropping in here. And shout out to Mike Kendall, the intro, the voiceover. You might not know who that was. It's Mike Kendall from the Legacy Fighting Alliance, the LFA. And he hooked me up with a solid, giving us the intro. And, of course, our guy T on the ones and twos, putting it all together, getting it tight and right to make this thing pop. So let's pop indeed. And we're going to kick this thing off. Again, huge card to go through tonight. Had to skinny down some of these spots because this is the final opportunity for the in-season tournament. We want to make sure to cover the NBA, and we're going to have a lot of fun bringing on a new segment as well. Of course, you know, Billy Briz is back. He's moved back. He's got his studio set up. We had to go without him for a couple of days, and it is what it is. But I'm fired up to have him back. He's been kicking ass and taking names on the show as well. He's 9-5, up almost 3 units to start it off, and he kind of had a bad deal there because it was like that opening college basketball card that he came through and delivered some props and the goods on for us as well. So he's back, he's winning, and we're going to continue to build off of that success. He's going to help us out with college basketball and the NBA, giving you guys them looks to cook the books, baby. Let's go. Let's talk about yesterday. You know, hopefully you didn't do anything stupid like me and triple up on that damn Indianapolis over spot there. Not only did I take the over, which I thought was going to get there, we had the intersecting zeros. Then I went Halliburton over 3.5 threes and the 5+ threes. And that was 3 L's right there. So it was a 6-6 day. But, you know, I guess I got a little greedy. In the NFL, we did cash the Justin Fields over 9.5 rush attempts. We got the DJ Moore plus money spot at over 5.5 receiving attempts or receptions. As far as the NBA, the Sixers got it done for us. The Wizards got it done for us at +3. That was an interesting spot, too, because that was the one where it was kind of coin flippy, and we were able to get there in the end. You know, I hemmed and hawed on that Clippers line movement. That's what this show is supposed to be about. When we see that number move so much, why chase it? The Clippers' first half ended up being L. The total did push at 217. I was laughing when I saw that. I was like, of course it was 217 on the head. We did win with the Florida Panthers. We did win with the Colorado Avalanche. Vegas, you know, they let us down in overtime. That was a little disappointment out there. I was heavily invested after jumping through cocktails in that live bet stream to get into Vegas, and it was that late start, so it just meant I kept pressing more. And then St. Mary's lost for us as well at -4.5. So St. Mary's might have to get shuffled around to the poop list here. That might be another segment we got coming up here. Because it's early in the show, I am calling it the poop list, but I will unload on those guys as we get moving here. Then as far as the lean side of the house, you know, wasn't our best day over there either. 1-4 spot, Eastern Kentucky -5.5, didn't get it done. I thought that Boston under 6.5 would get it done. And then Boston came through with some late minute heroics there to screw that under up. The Jazz ended up winning outright. I should have just stuck with that one at +5.5. The Halliburton 6+ threes didn't get there. He didn't get 5. He didn't get 4. And so none of those are going to cash. And then Justin Fields didn't get the interception as well. Justin Fields had himself a game last night, albeit that was a disappointing game to watch. I mean, my goodness, what was it? 14-12, the final score. The only highlight there was at halftime, I took a live bet for the first touchdown score. And I'm laughing because, you know, at halftime, you shouldn't have the first touchdown option be out there, but there it was. And what are you going to do? So, again, shout out to everybody in here. We got a big card to go through. We got to move at a brisk pace, but I do want to recognize and shout out everybody that's in here rocking off the hop with us. We got some new members to the Pub Sports Radio community as well, and that means a ton to us, you guys. No, seeing you guys come out there, you know, personally investing your cash out there to say, hey, we love what you guys are doing. or even if you just like what we're doing, it does mean a ton. So Sal Barami and then Maurice Copen as well. A couple new members out there, so we'll shout those guys out at the hop. There's our guy, Jay Smooth. Let's get this money, Jay Smooth. Justin McElvey with the stacks PODs, 106 and 103. We know he busted through that 500 mark, and he's delivering the goods here. Howard plus 10. Dan Kelly, what's up, my guy? D Mills says, yo, what up, D Mills? Welcome in. Craig Ford, let's get it indeed. There's Jared TG. Bet on the Sixers last night. I was hesitant until I heard you talk about it. My gosh, that's what it's all about, dude. You know, I appreciate you having the confidence to hear the show out and then jump in on the bet. That was a fun one as well. And I love the speech there at the end where they said they're bad MFers, and they elaborated on the MFers. But again, we're still on the early part of the show. We got to get to 8 minutes before we can really let it start flying, but you know we will. Dana Delp, sup? Lines moving is right. There's lines moving all over the place. College, NBA, NHL as well. It's crazy to see that today felt like there was a lot of volatility in the market. So we'll make sure to talk about that. There's our guy, Brent Cook. Mike brings the heat. F the Pacers. F the Pacers indeed. K Graham likes LSU plus 1.5. That's an interesting look. And we segued. We're going to have just a couple of NHL spots. Then we're going to jump into college basketball, and our guy Billy will join us. Because we want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to get those 7 p.m. tip-off plays in there. And then the NBA doesn't start until 7:30 tonight, so we have time to go through that card for the most part in its entirety. So there may be the occasional pass, but we got some great numbers, some great props to look at as well. Just a bunch of numbers to share with you guys to help you build same-game parlays and the deal. And there's Nathan Cerna says, Hammercock Pops, baby. Yeah, those are some fun Friday nights. And those did quite well for what it's worth. That college football early in the season was really kicking butt for us. Craig Ford, St. Mary sucks. I feel you, man. Jay's final take. What up, Jay? Nathan Cerna tied this morning with the push. PSG, Celtics first quarter, Purdue minus 29.5, payout 2.6 units. Good job out there. There's Jim Bob's Arcade. Never kneel. Got you, man. I got 1.5 on the Flyers in my safety round robin. I'm wondering what a safety round robin is, but that sounds good. I like that. Sounds an interesting play out there, given Carolina on a back-to-back. We'll talk about that game. JT Eel, Rodney Batiste. I'm pretty sure I didn't say I like the other side of that St. Mary's game because I took a big freaking L on it. So if you heard my hyperbole and you came up with the other side of it, then shout out to you. But I did take that L. Jay's final take again. Welcome, new guys. That's what it's all about, man. Welcome into the community. We're trying to give you guys plays, and it's all about you guys in the chat as well, man. It's all about giving us that opportunity to see what you're on as well. We might not have a look on that particular game, so you guys are helping us cover that card in its entirety. You know, there's a lot to get through in a short amount of time. So K Graham is sharing some action out there. He likes Portland State minus 2.5. We'll talk about that one. Dallas Mavericks minus 4.5. We're going to talk about that one. Jay's final take says he likes Jason Tatum over 27.5 points. And here we go. Dan Kelly, viewers and chatters, hit the thumbs up. That's what we ask you guys to do here. It means a ton to see the new members and everybody getting green. We love the donos as well, but all we really need you to do at the end of the day is hit that thumbs up for us. I told you, this is a big social media ship that has to get turned around, and it's a small little harbor, and we need your help to navigate those points out there to get it done. So please hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so already. We're 86 deep. And look, I wanted to keep it going, but at this point, we're going to have to rock. So we're going to give everybody that time to get in here, coming back from work, getting home, letting the dogs out, making a cocktail, looking in the freezer to see what's for dinner. Well, guess what you found? You found some spots to eat right here. It's Last Call, Pub Sports Radio, and we're going to rock and roll. So we do have a monster card tonight. They didn't do us any favors because the NHL loaded up, the NBA loaded up, college basketball's got like 75 games in there as well. So we're going to do our best to make sure that we give you guys all the looks that we like here and spots that even we're leaning to as well. We keep it transparent and 100. So we track everything. We record it. We start out the next show with it to keep everything legit so you guys know exactly what the score is with these games. And we're going to jump right into this thing. So I know our guy back there, T, making it happen for us. We're going to start in the NHL. I told you guys, a couple of looks in hockey, and then we're going to jump into college basketball. And then from there, we're going to move into the NBA. So that's the agenda for the show. And Look, a couple things to point out here. You guys know the deal by now. The right-hand side is going to show you kind of the games that we're going to cover. I got 4 games that I want to break down for you guys in the NHL. You'll see the plays at the top of the screen are the officials or the leans. And then this little parlay corner out there. So I was going to snip it. And I thought, you know what? Fuck it. We're at the 10-minute mark now. I said, fuck it. We're going to go and we're going to run with this thing as well. And I like this spot a lot. It's going to just take a bunch of these favorites, but favorites with good reason here. And, right down the hop, we see Carolina. They are playing the Flyers. Big game tonight. Another back-to-back spot for Carolina, who just came off a comeback from behind win against Columbus. Edmonton Oilers playing the struggling Vegas Golden Knights. Kind of felt like it's an opportunity we can take advantage of. Vegas kind of reeling right now, and Edmonton finding a way with their new coaching changes. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. They got, Connor McDavid's coaching staff in there from his junior days, and they're starting to put some goals in the net. So they're finding the back of that net, and that's important. Seattle Kraken here against Chicago. I'm giving you guys the high level on a couple of these games because we're not going to cover them, but the Seattle Kraken themselves, look, I like that spot in regulation. I just couldn't. There's so much going on with Chicago now with this Connor Bedard stuff. And, at that point I was like, I just can't. I can't. So I threw it in a parlay. I felt like, you know what, let me get that return. And last but not least is the Leafs, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Florida coming off a back-to-back spot. It was a big win last night for Florida against Ottawa. And I'm not sure if they didn't just gas themselves out. I'm not entirely in love with what I saw from the line movement there. It looks like there's a lot of cash coming in on the Maple Leafs. They're not traditionally good at home. So, that challenged me a little bit, but I wanted to throw that together. It's a plus 630 spot. So we need to find some big bangers in this card, and we have a big card laid out. So, let's talk about this first game right off the hop here. I am looking at this Carolina and Philadelphia game, and I am with the over in this thing here. Look, Carolina, again, I mentioned this earlier at the start. Big comeback win yesterday on Columbus Blue Jackets playing Philadelphia. And Carter Hart's going to take the net again at 6-5 with a 2.53 goals against average and a 91.1 save percentage. What do they got? Kochetkov in net for Carolina. And he was the guy that started last game. So, he came out there. He kind of had a shaky start, but then he pulled it back together. He made 21 saves on 23 shots. They ended up winning that game 3-2. So even though he got a little leaky early, he was able to kind of batten it down. But for me in this game, I looked at this over and I thought, first of all, Philly's shooting the puck at number 5 in the NHL. They're averaging 32 shots per game. We have a situation where Carter Hart not playing very strong right now. And this is what Philadelphia does. If you guys are new to watching Philadelphia sports, aside from the Eagles, when it comes to the Flyers, they just break goaltenders. I don't know how, I don't know why, but historically, if you go back, 25 years, every time they get a goaltender that gets hot, they end up just ruining it. And I think it has a lot to do with poor defensive play, poor blue line play. I think Tortorella will fix that over the long haul. But we're in that mediocrity period right now for Carter Hart. Look, when you previously played the Columbus Blue Jackets, as we know Carolina did last night, and you won, the next game goes over. It's 13-2 to the over. The number that I liked in this thing the most is the 6. Being that the 6, the average line in those games after a team plays Columbus are 6.2. We're getting a 6, and they're finishing with a 7.2 spot. So also, if you want to compound that thing even further, when the total's greater than 5.5 in that same position, it's 40-12 to the over with a 7.4 goals average. And I even put a side note in there. The first period's soaring over in those games as well. I'm not going to get too cute and try to cut it up. I think I got like 15, 16 plays on this card. So I just wanted to share that with you, that first period average is 2.4 goals. But I locked it down. I went with this Philly over 6. Again, shooting incredibly well. I think Carolina with this Kochetkov in net, struggling, potential Carter Hart struggles out here. Just felt to me like this was the right spot to take it. If you look at the cash flow, the cash is supporting, this opened at 5.5 and now we're at 6. So that did trigger that over effect. And it's 34% of the bets, but 85% of the cash on the over. So we're seeing the bigger bettors coming in on that over as well. And it's interesting because the numbers are starting to move a little bit, but you'll see 68% of the bets and 34% of the cash were on the under, again, suggesting the sharper money likes that bigger over, the bigger game, a higher total. And I'm tailing it down. I'm riding with it. So let's keep it moving. Next game we're going to talk about here, we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins at Nashville Predators. And we've got a Jari Saros net combination right now. So Jari in net, 2.44 goals against average, 91.8% save percentage. And then Saros on the other side at a 3.05 goals against average with an 89.8 save percentage. And look, I know they're reeling out there in Pittsburgh right now. They haven't had the greatest, kind of run as of late. And on the flip side of things, Nashville's got a 5-game winning streak going for the best they've had all season. But at the end of the day, I had to look at a couple of spots here. First and foremost, when you previously played Toronto or Vancouver, and there's 2 spots that this triggered tonight. When you previously played Toronto or Vancouver, you're on the road, and you got another road game coming up as a favorite right now. They're 28-6, but the margin in this thing is what's surprising to me. It's 1.76 goals. So I got a 28-6 spot with the better of the 2 goaltenders in there, and Yari and net. Nashville, yeah, they're pushing hard. But 5 games in a row with a win streak on a team that's somewhat suspect. Saros started out the year at 89.2%. His last 3 games, he's at 92%. But I just thought this number was the right spot for us here. So I get Pittsburgh at essentially a coin flip with a strong edge in their favor at minus 110. I'm all over that. That's going to be play number 2 for us on the card. We'll keep it moving. Third game we're going to talk about here, keeping a brisk pace. Our guy, Pete Loshak, loves to talk about the brisk pace, and I see why that's super important so that we can get through all of these spots. The next game we're going to hammer down on is going to be this Dallas Stars Winnipeg Jets game. And again, kind of turning the plane into the storm here, right? We're looking at this game with, Pittsburgh and Nashville and saying we're taking Pittsburgh, who's kind of in a struggle spot, against Nashville, who's been playing well. We're going to do the same thing here with Dallas. I got Ottinger at 8-4-2 for Dallas. He's clearly their guy. And on the other side of things, you got Hellebuck in net at 10-4-1. He's clearly the guy. We got a 2.71 goals against for Ottinger, 91% save percentage. We have a 2.65 goals against average for Hellebuck, 90.8% save percentage. But I believe this year more than any that the path to the Stanley Cup Finals is going to have to run through Dallas. Maybe it's a Western Conference Finals. I don't know that Dallas gets there at the end. And I think we're buying low on a team in Dallas here. When you've last played Nashville at home, and you got another home game and you're a dog, you're 0-8. So that's a Winnipeg 0-8 spot. They just played Nashville. They're at home and they're a dog, albeit a slight dog. 0-8. The margin again is the number that jumps out to me. 2.12 goals differential in those margins. It looks like you could even take Dallas at minus 1.5, but I don't want to get that cute with it because at the end of the day, it's Ottinger's 3rd straight start. He did okay in his last one though, not so good. They played Calgary. He let up 6 goals on 26 shots. I felt like this is that potential bounce back opportunity. He was 93.3% saving in his first 9 games. He's regressed a little bit. He's 86.5% saving his last 5, but he is a road warrior. That guy loves going on the road. He's 5-1-1 this year on the road. He's got a 93.5% save percentage on the road. So if you look at it, he started out the season red hot at 93.3%. He's 93.5% on the road. I see that the Jets just took their first loss after 6 games. Hellebuck's got 5 straight victories, and he's looking to get number 6. We're going to, again, turn this thing right into the storm. We're going to use that advantage that we have with that 0-8 spot. When you're just off of that Nashville game and you're home as a dog, you're 0-8 with a 2-goal margin. I had to jump in and take Dallas. Give me Dallas. Minus 118 was the best number I could get. Let me just take a quick peek because I'd love to see that number be a little less, but it's not. It's going to be minus 118. So we'll take Dallas at minus 118. And the last game I wanted to talk to you guys about on the NHL card tonight, I looked at this Tampa game, right? Tampa Bay, Arizona. I want to take Tampa Bay. I really do. Couple of thoughts that jump out. First of all, it's Johansson back in net. You guys have heard me for a couple of weeks hammering on this guy. Now, the thing about this is he's back where he should be, in the backup role. So the stress of having to play every day is kind of taken off of his shoulders. He knew in advance 2 days ago that he was going to start this game, so he had that time to prepare. But Arizona's kind of throwing the monkey wrench in the equation here. They're putting Ingram in net. Arizona has been rotating a 1-2 goalie rotation the entire season. This is the first time that they're starting Ingram in a back-to-back spot because I think they want this game is what it comes down to. When you're on the road after a loss and you have no rest, so that's truly the back-to-back because Tampa just played Colorado last night. You're 21-12 in those spots. So when you're on the road after a loss with no rest, 21-12 in the NHL. Also, the over has been popping at a huge rate there with a 27-6 over spot. Again, it suggests that Tampa Bay play. Arizona's lost 3 of their last 4 games, so that high that Arizona was on to start the season, that honeymoon period's kind of over at this point here. And, I just thought at the end of the day, I like this Tampa spot quite a bit, but I did see some numbers that supported Arizona. Arizona's in a 7-0 spot when they're a home dog their last 7 games. But in a counter that, right, away favorites when the line's less than -150 off a dog loss is 337 to 225. So a substantial win factor in there. It kind of looks like it goes both ways. Away favorites when their opponent had a victory with a better margin than the team previously. So when the team scored more goals in their victory than the team that they're playing against, the under has hit at 7 and 21. So 21 unders, 7 overs out of a 28 game sample. Just a tough spot. I just couldn't ultimately get there. That doesn't mean I won't get there. I mean, Ingram, consecutive starts, as I mentioned, for the first time this season, but he just had that big start. So they very much are riding that hot hand and trying to beat this losing streak that they're on with 3 of their last 4. Vegas, he had 34 shots. He had 34 saves out there in that shutout for Vegas. Now, Vegas has been reeling, so that's not – I think that's more of an anomaly than anything else, but it's a lean for me for right now on Tampa. If I do make it official, follow me on Twitter, and we'll make sure to get it rolling. So we're going to jump up here and get it moving into the next segment. We're going to bring our guest on backstage. You guys know him. You love him. He's back home. He's got the studio set up. We missed him the last couple of weeks. And, man, he came out kicking ass in the last call. And we're going to try to continue that luck and streak with our guy, Billy Briz. Billy Briz, what's up, my guy? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We're ready to go. It's an NBA in-season tournament and NCAA slate. We're coming off of Feast Week. It's the best time of year, Mike.
Tons of sports going on here. We got conference finals later this weekend for college football. We've got, NFL still in mid-season form right now, making things happen. So couldn't be a better time to be a sports fan. I mentioned off the top of the show here, plus units. I think it was, 9 and 5 on the show performance here. So I know you're banging it over the head. You had that great prop for us, the player prop that you snuck out there. I think the guy's player prop was 9.5 points. And I want to say you went out there and busted up a 28 spot. So that was a big one. That was a big alternate spot there as well. So I may have sprinkled a little on some of that ladder. And let's see if we can't put lightning back in the bottle and get it going again, my guy. We're going to start with college basketball, and then we'll transition over to the NBA. And we'll kind of just freeform it here with college basketball. You'll see on the right-hand side, there's 4 games that I want to kind of cover here that I'm looking at. The first one I'm going to start with is going to be the William and Mary game. I'll give you guys the splits. We'll set the table, and then certainly hear what Billy has to say. And then anything else, Billy, that, makes your card or that you want to kind of cover, even if it's just something that you kind of lean towards, by all means, share the floor with us. So, the numbers here for William and Mary, the Tribe against Norfolk State, +3, now 3.5, 67% of the bets and 54% of the cash on that William and Mary spot. And what's interesting about that is there were quite a few 4s out there when I started putting this stuff together earlier. So this truly is that last line movement type of factor that we're seeing out there. And 3.5 is going to have to be the number I take. You guys heard me talk about William and Mary earlier in the show. 3 and 4 William and Mary kind of went out there into the West. They got slapped around a little bit, but their coach is coming into his 5th season. He's got quite a few returners. They've been working on shooting points. They've been working on that 3 ball. And Norfolk State at 4 and 3 on the other side of things really isn't enamoring anybody. Now, Norfolk State plays incredibly well in the conference. They have been a dog. They have been covering spreads, but they played Wichita State on the road. They played Florida Gulf Course on the road. They played San Jose State on the road, and they played Fordham on the road. So they had 4 straight road games, and this is their first game coming back home. Whereas William and Mary just dismantled UMBC on the 25th of November. They struggled with Linwood, but Linwood's a team that's been shooting really well. So I'll kind of dismiss that. They were a favorite, so that does concern me a little bit. But I just think here we go. We're going back on the road again, trying to get that bad taste out of their mouth from the conference or the tournament that they had out there in the early part of November. I think they're ready to go here, and I'm going to take those points. I thought about the money line, but any looks on this game, Billy?
This is a weird one for me. I kind of let this one go by the wayside. There just wasn't a huge discrepancy between the common opponents. I feel like Norfolk honestly had a tougher schedule of competition. They've played Wichita State in their last game. They covered as a +13.5 underdog. And then they also beat FGCU last week as a +5.5 underdog. So I feel like Norfolk is kind of trending towards an ATS win. If you look at the head-to-head recent matchups, Norfolk has owned the head-to-head matchup here. They covered as a 1.5 dog. They covered as a 1.5 point favorite, 67-53. in December of last year, December 10th of last year. And then the year before, November 16th, they won as a -5 favorite, 91-74. So that's why I didn't feel too comfortable laying the points or betting against it. I just kind of let that one go by the wayside. But one game I was looking at here on the 7 o'clock early slate, could be an interesting full game spread, but I'm not betting the full game. I'm getting in and out on this one. SIU, Southern Illinois, at Indiana State here. Indiana State is coming off of a feast week L against Toledo here. And prior to that game, they rattled off 4 straight first half ATS wins. The only loss besides the Toledo game was against Alabama, a top 25 opponent here. A home game here for Indiana State. I like them in the first half, -3.5. That was something that made my added board here for the 7 o'clock games.
Perfect. I love it. Love breaking down, looking at the slot that we're in here, the window that we're in. So that makes it so everybody can get some time on that if they want to get into it. If you look at the cash flow, you may very well be onto something here. We've got a public road dog opened at 4.5 and has climbed up to 7.5. 75% of the bets and 75% of the cash on them. But here's that number that I like to see here. When you look at the total itself, the total's dropping. It's dropped 3 points from the original go. 71% of the bets and 63% of the cash on the over, and it's dropping. Suggests that the road team probably doesn't show up. So you kind of have that perfect storm of saying the road team might not show up. You got everybody betting on them, and they're still adding points to it, making it more attractive to bet there. Anytime Vegas wants to give you that warm, fuzzy hug, you got to take a second look at it here. And I like it. I like getting in and out of that thing. Who knows what happens down the road in the back end of it, but I like it. Indiana State, first half, -3.5. We'll lock you in for that one.
Yeah, that's exactly how I see the game playing out. I see Indiana State having a commanding lead in the first half, maybe like an 8 or 9 point lead, and maybe a backdoor cover with the other team, Southern Illinois, backdoor cover in here. But it's a very short NCAA card for me, and that was one of the added board spots for me. I feel like we're getting a somewhat undervalued favorite in the first half, and Indiana State's been pretty good this year in the first half. I mean, their only 2 losses are against formidable opponents in the first half. So, other than that, nothing that really stood out to me on that early card. I wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts on that LSU-Syracuse game? I was kind of leaning the road dog, but didn't get to the window with it.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was doing some research. I was looking at some of these teams, that we've got the ACC SEC battle that's going to start taking place here over the next week or two. And I don't think the SEC is going to match up very well. You go back a few years, the commissioner of the SEC had to call the athletic directors in from each of the schools and said, look, we know we're a football conference, but we have to be better in college basketball because the SEC was a joke for a long time. And they stepped up. They signed some great coaches. They kind of started transforming. You look at Bama. Bama was one of those teams where it was just a football school and they couldn't do anything else. All of a sudden, they're a contender and they're covering a lot of spreads. But this year, I felt like it's more AC. It feels like there's that pendulum that swings, and it's basketball one year and football the next. This has been a shit year for the ACC for college football, but it's been a good year for the SEC. And I feel like the shoe's kind of on the other foot now with that thing. The number that I was looking at was the total. Both these teams are kind of going through restructuring, right? LSU's kind of working on their new program. Syracuse in their first season without Boeheim out there. Boeheim was definitely not an NIL guy. He was making fun of other teams, talking about how they bought the best teams they could buy out there. And, it was time for him to move on. And I mean,
for sure.
he had his kids out there and everything else. And so I get it, but the total for LSU games has been going over at a large clip. I want to say they're 7-0 in their last 7 on the over. They're 39-1 to the over. If they previously won at home and now they're a road dog. So another over spot. But I just saw a lot of guys talking about this under. 79% of the bets and 85% of the cash on the under.
I like the under.
Yeah, that's kind of put me in flux there because I see the Cuse money line open at -122. It's -118. 67% of the bets and 34% of the cash on the Syracuse side of things, but the number's starting to fall. So the bigger money's coming in and saying LSU as a road dog will take it. And that's enough to give me concern. Playing at the Carrier Dome or whatever it's called now in Syracuse, that's a hostile environment. They love their basketball there. That's a basketball school for sure. I've been there.
This is
loud.
weird though, because if you look at Syracuse's total in the Maui Invitational, there are 3 games at the Maui Invitational last week during Feast Week. 145.5. That game went under against Tennessee. Then they played Gonzaga. Total was at 168.5. Went way under. And then their only game that they went over during Feast Week was against I can't even say it. Chaminade, Division Two Hawaiian school, and that game went
Silver Swords
145. So when you look at the total of 149.5, this just feels like a total that maybe the books are just correcting itself at, because if you look at LSU, yeah, their games have gone over, but their totals are at 133.5, 126.5, 145.5. So it's just like, maybe this is just an adjustment of what could be the right number here. But if it's a Syracuse win, I think it goes under.
Yeah, because if you look at what Syracuse has done, right, they put up 50, we'll take out the Silver Swords. We'll kind of put them off to the side because that's that's a D2 school, right? So we'll move them over to the side. But they played Gonzaga. They scored 57 points. They played Tennessee. They scored 56 points. They played Colgate. That's a game they play every year. They put up 79, but they barely covered that, or they barely won that game. They didn't cover that game. And then they played Canisius, which is another one of those kind of schools that fits into this Western New York region. And they beat them up, but again, they didn't cover in that game either. So difficult spot for Syracuse. On the other side of it, though, I was looking at this LSU thing, and you're right about the totals, right? You're seeing what the numbers were, and I just couldn't get there. I just don't, I want to get there. I want to take Syracuse because I think it's a basketball program. As I said, I just can't. The thing about that Tennessee loss is it doesn't look good on paper from a score perspective, but they were in that game. They were down by less than double digits the entire game. And it was only at the very end that things got a little leaky out there against Tennessee, and Tennessee's been out there clubbing everybody. So it's kind of,
that's what I mean though, Mike. Maybe this is just a Syracuse bounce back spot. Yeah, they lost. They went 1-2 in they went 1-2 during that Feast Week tournament in Maui. But they played fucking Tennessee and Gonzaga. And when they played the D2 school, they handled them accordingly. They were the only team that cover against a D2 school throughout the whole entire tournament. So it's just like, I don't know. This just feels like a Syracuse bounce back spot from a spot scenario perspective. The numbers tell you LSU, but the spot would tell you that Syracuse is going to win.
I do like a Syracuse spot, so I'm in a difficult spot with that one because it wouldn't take too much more to get me there. The only I had to go to the locals here because it's a New York school, and for the legal books, you can't bet on them in state. So let's see here. What's Dan Kelly says? The new coach fails equals the end of the close games. Al Cervix says, at Mike, the icons aren't changing as you go through bets. Usually they change, I believe. Yeah, we're kind of free balling on some of these other games that are kind of within the window that we didn't necessarily have to cover, Al. So yeah, we're talking about the William and Mary game, but we did just kind of mention the Syracuse spot as well. Don't have some of the graphics for some of the other games that we're bringing up through the time window, but let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about this. This next one's the one that I know a lot of folks are excited to talk about. A lot of plays on this one here. We're going to look at this later window. We're going to move on down the line, and then we can certainly cover anything else that's in between, Billy. But we've got this NC State game. We've got NC State out. Let me pull it up. Where is it? NC State Ole Miss. The line opened at -1. It's now +2.5. 75% of the bets and 66% of the cash. And yet the line passed through 0 and has moved from -1 to +2.5. The total's dropping as well. It opened at 146. It's dropped to 143 now with 55% of the bets and 58% of the cash sitting there on this under. Big number that I was looking at the last week specifically, and I know that there's some factors with Feast Week that were in here, but home favorites that are lined between 1 and 5 points, I've gone 3 and 15 against the spread. They've lost outright in 11 of those 18 spots. So, they're losing by a margin of 7.5 points. I was going to get there with NC State, but the numbers moving was just enough to kind of throw me off. And I know a lot of guys are on it. A lot of guys I respect are giving out the plays for NC State. I just couldn't get there. It's a lean for me at best right now because it's a later game window. So we'll see how some of these earlier games go. Got a lot of action out there. NC State ACC spot there. We know, as I talked about it, I think there's some opportunity for these ACC schools to put the hurting on SEC in these early challenges. They lost to BYU, didn't cover the spread. They lost by 9 on a 6.5. They played Vanderbilt. Didn't cover that Vanderbilt spot for NC State as well. Those were 2 road games, so they're kind of dealing with some travel and some road woes here. Charleston Southern, they hammered on Charleston Southern, so that was kind of expected. And, I just kind of looked at it. I didn't know that there was enough meat there. On the other side of things with Ole Miss, they just got a road game against Temple. They didn't cover. They barely beat Temple, but that's what Temple does. Sam Houston, I believe, 70-67. They played Detroit Mercy. They won 70-69. It looks to me like the NC State schedule is probably a little more conducive to seeing them get this job done. But then I see deeper in the schedule, we had some Eastern Washington plays for Ole Miss as well. Billy, I just couldn't get there at the end of the day. I couldn't push the button. Did you have any thoughts on this one?
This is a weird spot scenario because if we're just doing it by the numbers, granted, Ole Miss might be 5-0 record-wise, but they're fucking trash. ATS.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, dude, they've fucking lost. They won by 3 against Sam Houston State at home as a -9.5 point favorite. They beat Temple in Temple by 1 point, a team that's close by us. And I'll tell you right now, ain't nobody running over the fucking bridge to go watch Temple basketball anytime soon. They're in the fucking rebuilding year. Shit, I bet Drexel over Temple right now. Drexel's been looking this year. I bet LaSalle over Temple right now if they played head-to-head. Shit, Penn? If they played Penn, it would be a lock. So it's just like, how much do I really take away from that win? And then you guys are out here as a -23.5 point favorite non-conference game at home. You guys early beat Detroit by 1. Who the fuck is on that basketball team? I can't even name you one person in the last 5 years on Detroit Mercy basketball. I swear to God, I would not be lying to you. So straight from a spot scenario, 0-5 ATS. They damn near haven't covered against all these shitty teams, and now you're asking them to cover against a good team. Granted, NC State, they're coming off a smackdown against BYU, but BYU, let this year finish out. BYU is going to finish out as one of the better top half teams in the country. BYU is fucking good this year. Vandy, they beat Vandy at Vandy, lost as an 8-point favorite, but I mean, just to win the game outright in Vandy is impressive to me. And the rest of the games, they handled accordingly. I like NC State, and I like the under in this one.
Are you going to go official, or are you just some links?
Something just tells me it's a weird line. I feel more convicted in my NBA spots tonight. I only have one other college game spot here tonight, and it is actually a 7:30 Eastern spot. Almost moved on Ball State. I do got to note this game, though, before we talk about this next spot. Ball State is playing University of Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah.
If you just threw it out blindly, the 5-1 team is coming into the game as an underdog. Granted, they're on the road, but man, like, Ball State should be a lot better than fucking UALR, Little Rock, Arkansas. They're fucking trash. They've won their last game off of the Tulsa as a +4 underdog. But as I digress, that was just one game I was looking at. Didn't get to the window because I actually have a bet on the 7:30 game, Miami versus Kentucky. Love this spot here for the Hurricane. I think the Hurricane are coming into this game a little bit undervalued. Granted, we've seen Kentucky play on national television, but if you really dig deeper into Kentucky's performances this year, they're kind of somewhat underwhelming. I mean, if you look at their Feast Week schedule, they played Stonehill, smoked them 101-67. They played St. Joe's at home in a fucking Kentucky tournament with none of the other teams in the tournament in like the KenPom top 50. And they went in the fucking overtime at home against St. Joe's, ended up winning the game 96-88. But man, St. Joe's University, unless this is 2004 and Jameer Nelson's here and Delonte West is not on drugs, I don't know. St. Joe's basketball is a formidable basketball team to be going on the road into Kentucky, Lexington, the spot that everybody's scared of today. I think Miami's got some bark and some bite into them. This is the same exact team that went to back-to-back Elite Eight appearances. They're returning basically the same exact roster. They match up guard-wise very well with Kentucky. And then I think the number one thing that's going to keep them in this game is Miami has the most efficient three-point shooting attack in the whole entire country right now. And if this is going to be a high-scoring game with a lot of points on the board, and one team is getting the points and they're the best three-point shooting team in the country, I'll die and live with the results. Give me Miami Hurricane +6 with a sprinkle on the money line.
Yeah, I can get you the 6.5 out there too. So for show purposes here, we'll call you 6.5, and we'll sprinkle that money line at +230 for you. So I like it. I like to play, especially you got a 5-0 team in the Miami Hurricanes, a 5-1 team in Kentucky, but you just nailed it. I mean, these guys, they're returning a lot of their starters. And I don't think they're going to be scared. They've gone out there to get it done. So they're not going to go on the road and show fear. They're going to try to go out there and attack. They've been in the big moments, and the guys that are on the court have been in the big moments. And I think that's an easy to underestimate type of spot out there. So I like to play. I think it's going to be a score fest. I do think we're going to see a lot of points, and I think that's going to support Miami. So I'm with you there. I think that's a good look.
And if you look at Miami, and I mean, their Feast Week schedule was tough. They played University of Georgia, beat them 79-68, covered as a 7.5-point favorite. Played Kansas State, a team that was highly regarded last year in the tournament. They smacked them 91-83 as a 3-point favorite. So I mean, Miami's not only winning, they're covering.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. Miami will lock him in. We'll give him 6.5. There says Chosen One says he likes the Canes +5.5. Brent Cook says he likes Kentucky here, but the only one, so he's just going to watch this one. Hey, you know what? Hopefully that's the right decision for you then. Hey, we hate to talk you off of that cash, my guy. Jay Peasy, he's got somebody out there. And is that Davis is a man in Detroit, Mercy. You might not be there this year. Andre says he's all in on Ole Miss. Interesting Ole Miss spot there. Brent Cook, the Indiana State -6 play looks legit. There's our guy EQ as well. Shout out to all you guys in the chat. We got to keep it rolling. We got to keep a brisk pace and make sure that we get the rest of these games covered. I've just got 2 more looks in college basketball for you guys. And again, I'm riding that home favorite spot. In the past week, the home favorites struggling to cover, struggling to win outright in this spot here when you got those teams lined between 1 and 5. I'm going to go back to this team, and they might very well end up as team number 2 on the shit list, but we will see here because I think that the Akron Zips are a real contender. And, they're playing a road schedule. They're playing a tough schedule early in the season. To me, that tells me that they're loaded up and feeling good about they're trying to build their resume early. The line opened at +3.5. It's still sitting around 3.5. So there are 4s out there, though. 63% of the bets and only 16% of the cash on Akron Zips. And the line really isn't moving. And that should draw concern if the big bets are coming in on UNLV. The total has dropped from 141 down to 137.5. 58% of the bet, 68% of the cash on the over, and we got a drop in number. Does that mean that that UNLV goes out there and locks it down? I just don't know. I mean, Akron Zips are 4-2, UNLV's 2-3, and if you kind of look again, if you want to look at the opponent's process here, Akron's been playing difficult teams. They're not just messing around. They had that South Dakota State spot. They came out and they won as a road dog in the South Dakota State, where I remember you were talking about that game. Like, you go to South Dakota State, you're going to score points in those spots. Yeah. And, Southern, they had a Southern Miss spot. They came out and they won against Southern Miss. Those are 2 covers for them in a row. Florida International kind of caught them sleeping at home. And then Utah State, they were a home dog. And, they didn't cover, but they only lost by 1. Then they go on the road and they take on Drake. And, tough schedule, I think, from how they're kind of making this thing happen. But I think they're managing the travel in an interesting fashion where they had a series of home games kind of during that feast process. Now they're going back on the road. And they're a team that can score in bunches if you look at their totals here. I know, the 62 points in the Utah State game, not their greatest moment, but they put up 71 against FIU, 72 against Southern Miss, and 81 against South Dakota State. On the other side of things with UNLV, that's not a team that I want to put my money on right now. They're finding that bucket couldn't be any smaller when they're trying to throw those things out there. They just played Richmond at home. They lost outright 82-65. They got slapped by Florida State. They were a 3-point dog. They lost by 8 points as well. And they were on the road with Pepperdine. So now you got a team that's kind of comfortable.
That game was in the Sunshine Slam.
Difficult spot for this team, I think, all around. And I want the points. I just said, you know what? I think this game, at the end of the day, can UNLV win the game? They should. They're home. but we're seeing that they don't have the success or the track record of covering. So I'm going to go back to the Akron Zips. I've been on them early. It was kind of one of those teams I had in my profile from the college basketball season to start, and we'll see if they can't come out there and cover that +4. Again, I don't know about getting it done outright, but I like the +4. And then the last game I'm going to hit for you guys real quick here, Portland State. Kind of an obscure one out there. 52% of the bets, 59% of the cash on Portland as a road dog, and the number has dropped 2 points from the open. As far as the total, it opened at 154. It's now 154. There's even 154.5s out there. 55% of the bets, 66% of the cash. And if you try to look at this and you see the numbers, a coin flip, it opened at 4.5. It's down to 2.5. And we got cash kind of on both sides of this thing, but they're showing concern with the number. Then I look at the money line to try to get a better picture of what's going on there as well. We see it open at -176. It's down to -140 for Portland State. 77% of the bets and 95% of the cash on Portland State. It's a small sample. There's only less than 3,000 tickets in the sample, but I don't know about the spot here for Portland State. I think they can get snuck at home as the dog. Again, home favorite.
What's the count on the over-under? Because that game screams over.
Yeah, I was thinking that too when I first looked at it, because Portland State games, I feel like last year were over festivals here. So we have 154s and it's kind of sitting frozen. If you look at Portland, they just played Nevada. They had an over spot at 148, but their lines have been really high. So this kind of looks like the opposite of what we've seen with Syracuse, where these lines are 156.5, 146, 159.5 as well. They went under, but they're huge. They're huge totals to be going under. And then on the flip side of things, Portland State's kind of playing lockdown, right? So they've just beat, they just won 76-70. They had Cal Poly. They just beat Cal Poly 73-57. Just a difficult spot when you look at these totals at 145.5 or 141.5. I just have the sneaky suspicion that the interstate rival Portland State can come in there and take a loss like anybody else. So give me Portland just in the spot with the line moving. This is just a straight where I see the line moving and I see that factor with that 1 to 5 point index. 1 to 5 point teams losing right there. What did I say? They were 3-14 or 3-15, 3-15 against the spread, and they're losing by 7.5 points. So although we've lost 2 points in this thing, I think Portland's a live dog as well. It's a 10 o'clock spot. It's just another spot I'm going to have my cash on. So I got 3 college basketball games. Billy gave us 2. Let's get into the meat here. Let's get into this NBA. We're all here to talk some hoops here. We got the association. We got the in-season tournament. Let's turn the page and let's try to figure out how we're going to get paid. We got all the games lined up. We'll just kind of rifle through them. I'll give you guys the cash flow. I know a lot of you guys want to hear about some of that stuff. And then if Billy's got to play, we'll get into it. If not, we'll move on to the next. And we're going to introduce a new segment tonight as well. I'm fired up for this. Our guy making it happen. He's been balling in the NBA. And I said, well, we can't just have you backstage. Get on here and give us some winners, damn it. So let's go here. We're going to start with this first game. We're going to look at this Bucks and Heat spot. And the line opened at +1 Milwaukee. It's now shifted. And I did see that Bam is available to play tonight. So I know he was questionable early. 71% of the bets and 72% of the cash on the Bucks. And it has moved, 5.5 points from the open. The total opened at 226. It's sitting at 230, even 230.5. 72% of the bets and 82% of the cash on that over. And it has moved. So, then I kind of started breaking it down a little bit. And as I was looking at this thing, I wanted to jump in on the Bucks. I know they've been kind of getting beat up, right? The press has been all over them. They're the champion team that got beat in the first round last year. And who they get beat to, right? They lost to the Heat. So this is a good revenge spot for them. Also, the Milwaukee Bucks are 3-0 on the in-season tournament. So if they win tonight, they're going to get that position. They could be the number 1 team for that East bracket here. But I just couldn't pull the trigger on it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you kind of noted, the Bucks kind of control their own destiny in this East Group B bracket. There's 2 games in the bracket tonight: Milwaukee versus Miami, Charlotte versus New York. And if the Bucks go 4-0, they win Group B. If the Heat win at home, they'd be tied with the Bucks at 3-1, but they have the head-to-head tiebreaker. The Knicks are favored heavily to beat the shorthanded Hornets. They would improve to 3-1. New York, with a healthy win margin, could play themselves as a wild card or a group winner, depending on the Milwaukee result. Milwaukee currently leads the group with a +39 point differential. The Knicks are in second with +18. as a minus 13.5 point favorite today, and the Heat are plus 11 in third place. So theoretically, Charlotte is alive for a wild card spot, but they would need a win plus Cleveland, Miami, Boston, and Brooklyn all to lose. So I bet the Bucks here on the money line as the Jimmy Butler news came out. I got it at minus 170 at Bet365. A little bit chalky here, but we're asking the Bucks just to win. And to make the spot even better, it's the same exact team that they got bounced out of the first round of the playoffs last year. And for a somewhat underwhelming start to the season for the Bucks, this would be a good way to kind of silence the naysayers out there in the world if they get this East Group B bracket here.
Yeah, and I see our guy T says Butler's out of this game, so that's a big move. That's a big negative against the Miami Heat side of things here. Also, I noticed, the Bucks they're not going to have Jay Crowder. They won't have Chris Middleton. Well, I guess he's questionable. I guess he hasn't been officially announced here, but I think it's a good spot. The coaching advantage. I see our guy Dan Kelly says the coaching advantage goes to Miami, but I think it's a revenge-minded team. They got Giannis out there. Of course,
the coaches don't have the basketball in their hand.
Yeah, and now you're bringing out Middleton is playing. Okay, so he was questionable. Looks like he is playing. And now you got Dame Lillard coming in too. So I think it's a good opportunity for these guys to smack him. I like that money line play. I had written it down earlier today. It was minus 145 earlier today. So definitely been some considerable movement. I'm sure it's injury-related news, but I think Milwaukee wants to kind of get this thing moving in the right direction. And you brought in those new pieces to the team earlier in the season. It takes a little bit of time to figure out how to get all these guys to play the ball that they need to play, and they got to learn with the new coaching system as well. So I think the Bucks are. I like that Bucks play. We'll write it down. We'll make a notation on that one, and we'll move on. We'll keep it rolling. We got the next game we're going to talk about with you guys here. We got the Chicago Bulls Boston Celtics spot. The line opened up at Celtics -9. It's moved to -12.5. It did go up to 13.5, so it has come back a little bit to 13s and 12.5s. 72% of the bets and 85% of the cash on the Boston Celtics, and the total opened at 216.5, and it's moved up to 220s. 64% of the bets and 59% of the cash on that over as well. And Billy, take it away. What do you got? Oh, are you muted?
This one's a weird one because this is the East Group C bracket. Chicago versus Boston, Toronto versus Brooklyn tonight will be the two games featured in that bracket. Currently in number one place right now is the Orlando Magic, who are off tonight, but they can win East Group C or advance as a wild card on the point differential. If the Bucks beat the Bulls as expected, they still lose the 1-1 tiebreaker with the Orlando Magic head-to-head, since Orlando won the head-to-head matchup. And if the Celtics lose to the Bulls and the Nets beat the Raptors to improve the 3-1, the Nets would have the head-to-head versus the Orlando Magic, and Brooklyn would win the group. But if Brooklyn and Boston both win, then it's a three-way tie at 3-1, and the point differential will decide the seeding for that. Orlando's currently +22. Brooklyn enters tonight at +8, and Boston is currently even. So if the Nets or the Celtics want to advance tonight, they're going to have to win by some pretty big point differential margins tonight. My first look at this game when I read that was the bet Boston to win by 11+ win margin at -165, and the bet Boston to win by 20+ and Boston to win by 30+. But as I started digging in a little bit deeper, if Boston's going to have to play this game from a point margin differential, then why not just attack the star stud player and Jason Tatum and his points and assist prop? That was one lean that I left down as a lean, didn't make it as a bet. Ended up liking a couple more bets on this card, but I think Boston wins this game handedly. And I would lean towards the full game spread more than the first half spread, because they have to win this game by at least 20 points. Because Orlando's in first place. They're not playing tonight, and they're +22 in the point differential in first place. And the only thing that makes me concerned is when you talk about it from a narrative perspective theory, and you look at the quotes from the Boston players about this NBA in-season tournament, feels like their focus isn't really on the NBA in-season tournament. It's more on the NBA championship. Right. So it's like you got Jason Tatum talking about he doesn't really approve of the point margin differential. Why can't we just play the games? Joe Mazzulla, they sat Drew Holiday in last week's tournament, in-season tournament game. just doesn't feel like a focus of direction in the front office is to really would they like to win? Yes, every team would like to win, but it just doesn't seem like in their priority list, this does not seem number one on their list to make it into this championship in-season tournament game with aspirations of the championship later on in the spring. So I ended up staying off of this one, but I do like the Celtics. I do think they win by margin. And it just feels like a weird spot, though, because could they say, fuck this tournament, lose this game outright, and just let the piss Orlando Magic or the Brooklyn Nets win this division? Yeah, that could definitely happen. I mean, this is what this tournament's made for. We'll talk about it in the later games, but this tournament is made for those fringe Eastern Conference and Western Conference teams that don't have a title aspirations. This is their spot for their fans to get excited early on in the season before it's late spring and they start tanking games. So we'll see a couple of these teams that are kind of in the lower end of their conference, but they're first in the group divisions. And I could definitely see their Orlando Magic and the Pacers being the 1 and 2 seed in this Eastern Conference of this tournament.
Nice. I don't like to hear your thoughts there on the first half since that's a play I'm on, but I like it. I mean, I think we're both kind of looking at the same. How much do they care about this? And that goes back to why I was looking at the first half, because I've been bitten by Boston just kind of rolling over in the fourth quarter on teams. And you're right. Like if you're a championship contending team, do you really give a shit about this in-season tournament? You can say you do, and you can say all the right things, but it's your actions that truly speak louder than words in this case. So I did take them in the first half. The number moved up as well. I didn't want to chase the shit part of the number when it opened at 9 and it's moved up to 13s in some spots as well. So I was almost thinking about a Bucks Celtics money line parlay as well to kind of bring that juice way down, but I just couldn't get there. I didn't pull the trigger. I did pull it on the first half. So let's keep it rolling. Let's talk about the next game on the card here for you guys. Appreciate everybody dropping in 135 plus, hanging out with us here. Our guy Billy Briz banging it down, giving us his looks on the card tonight in the association and the hardwood here. We got a big card to cover, so make sure if you guys haven't done so yet, please hit that thumbs up button. Give us the like on YouTube. Helps us crack this code and keep things rolling. Next game that we'll talk about, I don't have an official play on it, but we are Hawks and Cavaliers. The line opened at 4, and it's kind of sitting at 4. I do see a 4.5 out there with the Hawks. 53% of the bets, 70% of the cash on the Hawks. And then if you look at the total, it opened at 235.5. It's moved to 237.5. We have 75% of the bets and 72% of the cash on the over, and it's pushing the number up. So, again, no official bet for me, Billy, but what do you got? What are your thoughts?
This is a backwood, as we would say on the NBA show back in the day.
Yes.
This is a weird one. The Pacers already wrapped up East Group A. They're first in the standings at 4-0. The Cavaliers are 2-1. Sixers are 2-2. The Hawks are 1-2, and the Pistons are 0-4. The Pacers are going to move on as the number 1 seed. The Cavs could advance as a wild card, but they would not just only to win, but they need to blow out the Hawks by a significant margin, and their current point differential is +6. So it just feels like a game that just another regular season basketball game, and that kind of goes against the theme and scenario of today. I'm going to bet on teams that are playing for a purpose, that are kind of they're home franchises. Not that their season relies on it, but it feels like, for example, like a team like the Pacers, they have no shot of winning the NBA title. No shot. But them being first in the East Group A bracket will have everybody shut the fuck up for their fans and their owners and stuff like that and put butts in the seats, and people are going to be there in early December. I mean, that's what the tournament was made for. I mean, but as I digress, no bet for me in this game. It's just a weird game to cap, man. A lot of weird shit happen in this one.
I know a lot of people like that over. I see that number's high. Just something to consider for the total if you're looking at that side of things. The Hawks are 1-20 against the spread. They're losing by 12 points on average on the road off of back-to-back road games if they're a dog that's longer than 2.5 points. So tough spot for the Hawks. Doesn't suggest that they're in a position to get this game done. But you're right. It's just a game I didn't want any part of either. So we'll keep it moving. Let's go. Let's keep rolling. We'll rock and roll to this next game. Maybe we got some action here. We got the Hornets and the Knicks. I see in the chat, Craig Ford says Orlando's the 12-5, second best record in the league. The line opened up for the Knicks at -7, and it's screamed to -11. There's even 11.5 starting to show their head. 63% of the bets and 41% of the cash on the New York Knicks. And the total's dropping here. We got a 222, now 221s, and even 220 and a half are starting to show up. And that's about a coin flip. 48% of the bets and 49% of the cash on the under. And it has dropped, I guess a little bit. Any thoughts on this play, Billy?
This is a hard one because I actually think the Knicks are gonna win. If you had to give me one free money line bet of the day to parlay with anything up, it would probably be the New York Knicks. I think they smoked the Hornets in this one. In this group here, we talked about it a little bit. The Knicks, with a healthy win margin, could play themselves into a wild card spot. And you know how the NBA is. The NBA loves their market teams, and New York and Vegas sounds highly marketable here for the Knicks, and I don't think they would jeopardize that for a fucking Hornets win. That would mean no relevance towards this group. So I think the Knicks not only win, but they win by margin.
Yeah, so one of the plays, I don't have an official on this one. I don't even have a lean on this one, but I kind of was thinking about it slowly and surely here. The Knicks are 14-1 to the over at home if they're favorites by more than 5.5 points. So with that being said, and I see the numbers pushing the over, to me, it suggests it's a potential team total spot for the Knicks. I see 116.5. I'm not going to get there on that, but I did want to share that number with you guys because I did have a trend that kind of supported taking that over in the Knicks. I just don't know what Charlotte's going to do about it. You know, they could certainly go out there and not play any defense, but
it feels like if you're betting a Charlotte over, you would just rather bet Terry Rozier props.
Yeah.
That's the only way they're going to get to an over anytime soon. I mean, Terry Rozier, first game back off of injury, he's playing out fucking 38 minutes. I mean, the minutes are there. It's just I'm scared a little bit by the blowout scenario because it's like if the Knicks are blowing the Hornets out, I think the Knicks starters have every intention of playing. But if the other coin drops to this and the Hornets are getting blown out, the fuck are the Hornets going to keep their starters in for? They're just going to play bench rotational guys.
And Chosen One says he's on the Knicks first half. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. All right, well, let's move on. We're going to keep rolling here. We got a lot of games to cover. We're still in the meat of this thing for you guys, and we want to make sure we get you out of here with some time to get these bets in. So we'll keep the pace up. We'll keep it moving. We'll talk about this next game. I have some plays in this game here. I want this Raptors-Nets game, -2.5, 67% of the bets, 55% of the cash, and the line's at 2. And now there's 1.5s that are out there as well for the Nets. The total open at 221.5. It's at 223.5. 64% of the bets and 62% of the cash on that over have pushed the number up. But the interesting spots when you look at the money line for the Nets, it opened at +120 for the Raptors. It's down to +106. 52% of the bets. So the public money's coming in on that Raptors money line, but the 69% of the bets are on the Nets money line. I don't know if that's later movement that they like the fact that the Nets should be able to just come out and win this game. You can see on the screen 3 plays that I have for you guys. I went Nets first half -0.5, Nets full game -1.5. And then I went with the Scotty Barnes numbers. I went Scotty Barnes over 1.5 threes. Bottom line was just in a strong forward position. The Toronto Raptors have given up. The Brooklyn Nets have given up the most threes of anybody in the league in this position here with the forward position. So over 1.5 threes +122 spot for me. I tripled up on this game.
I actually like Scotty Barnes' rebound prop. I'm reading right here. He's gone over 8+ rebounds in 10 out of his last 13 games this year, hitting at a 76.9% clip. The Nets are allowing 7.8 rebounds per game. And over the last 3 games, the Nets have given up 56 opponent rebounds a game. That means Barnes would need just a 14% rebound share tonight to go over his prop. So the projection would say that he'll go over his rebound prop probably some midway through the third quarter here. High-paced game in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's down a couple of bodies. Yeah, I definitely think Scotty Barnes is going to go over 8+ rebounds and probably double-double here.
Yeah, Chris Mack says Barnes over 7.5 rebounds -120. What is that double-double? I'm always down for a nice little double-double spot. +210 for that's +185 now for the double-double for Scotty Barnes there. Interesting look for us there. Anything you want to go official with on this game?
Nothing official, but man, that Scotty Barnes rebound prop is staring at me though.
Yeah, you said that, and I was thinking I might have to work this into a same game parlay of some sort there with some of these numbers.
That could be the move, Mike. Maybe knock down off of rebound here, since we have FanDuel pulled up right in front of me here. Let's go all 6.5, just in case if he doesn't get that coveted 7. I feel like whenever they miss, they always usually miss by the hook.
Yeah.
Plus, and you said Scotty to get 2 threes, right?
Yep.
Let's just change this to 1 3. Yeah, that could be the play there. Minus 131, same game parlay of Scotty Barnes over 6.5 rebounds and 1 made 3.
Wow.
Which is odds is his basically his rebound prop straight. And you're getting 1 rebound, and he should hit a 3.
My only problem, he should hit a 3, right? My only problem is the Raptors. They're a difficult team to figure out when they're going to play, but I like isolate. I think the Nets are the position for the game, but I like isolating it with those player props. So let's. I made a note of that thing here. We'll come back to that. I got to get some time in here to make that thing happen. So let's go on to the next game. We're going to talk this OKC Thunder spot here. We're going to look at the Thunder. We've got the Minnesota Timberwolves hosting those OKC Thunder. You'll see on the top where I'm at on this thing, Billy. The numbers opened up for us. We had a +3, now +3.5. So they're starting to show out there, but 41% of the bets and 42% of the cash on the OKC Thunder. So the bigger bets are coming in on the Timberwolves, and the books aren't showing concern. The number opened at 225.5. The back number, it's at 228.5. 50% of the bets, 67% of the cash on the under in that game. And we're really seeing it move in the opposite direction. So it was a simple spot for me. I like the Thunder as a dog. I feel like that's where their value is. They've been getting some home favorite numbers recently, and it's kind of pushed me off of them, but I'll take the 3.5 as a dog. What are your thoughts?
I'm off of this game. This game doesn't have too much meaning into the tournament here. It's really the other game, the Kings and the Warriors, that are in this West Group C bracket. If the Kings can beat the Warriors, Sacramento wins the division and advances. If the Warriors beat the Kings, both teams are 3-1, and Golden State has the head-to-head tiebreaker. If the Warriors win and the Timberwolves beat the already eliminated Thunder, then the 3 teams would be 3-1, and it would come down to a point differential. So I actually do lean with you that the NBA kind of would rather have the Thunder win here in this spot.
I love that you got the details for this tournament for us too, because there's so many moving parts to this thing, and that's what makes it fun. That's what they were supposed to have, and that kind of the design and the intent. So, yeah, I just like them as a road or as a dog. You know, at home they're going to be favorites, and we're going to start seeing 6s and 7s as they start moving along. But you know, the Timberwolves certainly have had my share of letdowns with the Timberwolves. I know they started out red hot, but I also feel like teams are due to regress, and you know, we're not playing their due factor, but they are who they are, and they started out incredibly hot, and I think, yeah, you got Cat and you got the boys are doing their things out there, but you know, is it enough to carry, you know, the sword at the end of the day? I'll tell you another spot that I looked at. I did play it. I'm not going to give it out as any show play, but something I did tap into. I went with the Conley 4+ threes, and it was +585 on FanDuel. The number behind it just made so. First of all, OKC allows the 5th most 3-pointers to point guards. His 1.5 is -165. So they're suggesting he should get the 2 in a game that's going to be, I think it's going to be, there's going to be some scoring going on. I know that we're seeing the under, but we're seeing the totals climbing. So the books are seeing all that under cash coming in. They're saying that they think it's going to go over. So if he's supposed to get 2, I only need to get 2 more, and I'm getting almost 6 times my money on it. So I took a stab at it. It was just a small sprinkle for me. It's not that I'm going to give out official for the show, but just wanted to let you guys know that little number there that I was trying to kind of tease in there and try to have some fun with. You know, I looked at Cat's points. There's just a lot of juice on these things here, and it kind of suggests in the prop game here that this is what the tournament was designed to do. Cat's over 22.5 points. OKC allows the 10th most points to that position, is -112. I don't know. There just wasn't a lot of value, a lot of meat on the bone, but I did jump into that Conley spot, and I'm on that OKC +3.5. So let's talk about this next game, though, because I know we got another thing popping here. There's going to be some guys firing on this one, and you know what? We got a new show segment here we're going to debut tonight as well. Let me lay out the numbers, and then we'll jump into it. Houston Rockets, Dallas Mavericks, +5.5, now +4.5, 75% of the bets, 58% of the cash on the Houston Rockets. The line is dropping. The total's dropping as well. It opened at 233. We're down to 229s, even 228s, 43% of the bets, but 70% of the cash on this over, and it's dropped. You'll see the screen. You'll see my plays. We'll talk about them in a minute, but let's debut our new show segment here. Let's go, baby. There he is.
What is up, Mike? What is up, Billy? What's up, chat? How you guys doing?
Shout out to you.
Good, man.
Appreciate you jumping in here. I know we were texting back and forth over the holiday weekend there, and we were sharing some plays, and he was firing. He was like, we did this. I was like, dude, we got to get you on the show. Let's go. And I've been excited ever since. So, man, we're happy to have you as a debutante on the screen here to make some plays for us here. And I know that this was one that I've got some spots on. I know you've got to look for us as well. And I'm not sure if Billy's got anything in this game here, but let's give it around the horn, boys. Who wants to start? T, let's give it to you, man. Let's hand the mic over.
All right, I'll start it off. I really like this Houston Dallas spot. My main takeaway, looking at the numbers here, Dallas is a terrible first half team. They're 5-11 first half ATS on the season with a -40 ROI. That's bottom 5 in the league. At home, first half ATS, they have a -68 ROI, 1-5 first half against the spread when playing at home. So they're a bad first half team at home. They're a bad first half team on the road. Those numbers popped out at me so much. So I'm taking Houston first half +2 at -10. Houston is also a good team in the first half. 3-2 ATS on the road. 2-2 first half money line. They have a 38% ROI on the road first half. They're a young team. They haven't played since Friday. They're playing for this in-season tournament as well. I think they're gonna come out with a lot more energy than Luka and Kyrie. They're already eliminated from the in-season tournament, the Dallas Mavericks. Sengun, I don't think the Dallas Mavericks have anybody to really match up with Sengun. I think they're gonna come out fast, come out strong, score a lot of points, and cover the first half.
I like it. Give us the first half Houston spot +2 for our guy T. Tea time, baby. Let's go. Billy, take it away.
Yeah, love the spot. Biggest bet of the card for me. West Group B bracket here, Houston versus Dallas. Standings in the West Group B bracket right now. Pelicans 3-1 at the top, Rockets 2-1, Nuggets 2-2, Mavericks 1-2 eliminated, and the Clippers 1-3, and they are eliminated. If the Rockets win tonight, they will win West Group B. Both they and the Pelicans will have a 3-1 record, but Houston has the head-to-head advantage. If Dallas wins, then New Orleans wins the group, and it's unlikely Houston would advance with 2 losses. And the Mavericks have already been eliminated here. Big boy bet. I agree with Toronto. I like his numbers, but I like the full game money line here for the Houston Rockets. If you look at them ATS-wise, they are the hottest. Houston, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. They're the hottest team in the NBA right now, ATS-wise. They're 10-0-1 ATS in their last 11 games, and people aren't betting the fucking Rockets. If you put Team A, it's Team B, and we showed you these numbers between these two teams, people would be slamming. I'm telling you, fucking slamming the Houston Rockets. This is the same exact team. Let's look at the teams that they beat the fucking get here. They're beat the Pelicans, the Nuggets. I mean, they're winning real games. They're not playing bullshit ass teams and losing games anymore. This is a new Vamp roster. They had a great run so far in this tournament, and I think they capitalize their efforts of this tournament by winning this game tonight. If you look at the Houston Rockets, the things that they've been doing this year have been pretty miraculous for a team that was coming into the season really, honestly, not highly regarded at all. They beat the Lakers, the Pelicans, and the Kings here to get inside this spot. I think that they can beat the fucking Dallas Mavericks, a team that is unmotivated, a team that probably won't have Derek Lively in the lineup. Alfred Sengun me, please, because we're about to go make some money tonight with the Houston Rockets because we're about to take off. It's a cheesy play. It's a weird play. It's a play that doesn't make you sleep at night. But it's the plays that you want to make that are the ones that usually cash in the sports betting world. And I'm telling you, Houston Rockets tonight, +4, right on the money line as they win West Group B. This is what this NBA in-season tournament's made for teams like the Houston Rockets that have no shot of winning the NBA championship, to get their franchise excited and happy for something more to come here, and that's the NBA in-season tournament as the number 1 seed.
Love it. I love it. I'm on the 4.5 as well, and I got the money line. It's now plus 150 as well, so we'll block in 150. And I'm going to go and tail our guy T as well. I'm going to take that plus 2 in the first half. I love it. I think it's a great spot. I think we have a show consensus. First time we've had that going on here where we're all feeling this thing the same way. I did hear it's going to be the debut of the new floor for the in-season tournament floor for Dallas. I don't think it was right. Was the rumor around the mill the last game. So they delayed busting it out and put it out there, but they will have that in debut tonight. I believe Dallas will be wearing the black jerseys as well. It's going to be a lot of fun to see this game here. This one, I got a healthy investment on this game here. I'm triple dipping it now. We'll go first half, full game, and the money line as well. I think we're all thinking and seeing it the same way. Let's jump on to the next one here. T, I know you shared some thoughts on this one too. You're welcome to hang out and give us your look on this guy next.
Yeah, man, I'm cool. I'm cool to hang out.
Let's go. Let's dig in. We got this last game on the card for everybody tonight. Long card. We got there. We're going to talk about this game. It's Golden State Warriors, Sacramento Kings. The line opened at 1. It's now 2.5 with 70% of the bets and 78% of the cash on the Sacramento Kings, the hometown Kings. A double revenge spot, Sacramento Kings. The total opened at 239. It's dropped to 236. We have 66% of the bets, 60% of the cash. And then if we take a peek at that money line, looks like it opened at minus 110. It's sitting there around minus 125, 81% of the bets, 91% of the cash on the Sacramento Kings. And I'm going to jump in. I'm off the hop here. It's minus 125 now. I'll lock that number in. Let's go Billy Briz to start this one out here. Billy, what do you think?
This is one where you can feel like you have a side, or you could feel like you have a conviction, but nobody knows what the NBA knows. And the NBA will ultimately decide who wins West Group C, because if the Kings win, they beat the Warriors tonight. Sacramento wins the division and they advance. But if the Warriors beat the Kings, both teams are 3-1, and Golden State has the better head-to-head tiebreaker record. So does the NBA want the Kings in the playoff tournament thing, or they want the Golden State Warriors in this playoff thing? I have no idea. But I'll tell you one thing that is for certain: De'Aaron Fox is going to put some fucking points up on the board tonight, man. If you look at De'Aaron Fox's statistical data over the last, he's gone over 27.5 points, 7 out of his last 10 games, including 3 out of 3 at home. Golden State is allowing the 4th most points per game towards opposing point guards, including 39 by De'Aaron Fox earlier this year against the Golden State Warriors. And besides that, the Kings' first game at home after a 6-game road trip, a matchup versus the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. If you look at there's always a question of what players are taking this tournament seriously. I'll tell you, De'Aaron Fox is fucking taking this tournament seriously. If you look at De'Aaron Fox's NBA in-season tournament numbers this year, 43 and 36 points in 41 and 37 minutes in 2 games so far for the Kings. So he's been hooping out there in these NBA in-season tournament games, probably trying to make a race for NBA in-season tournament MVP with those numbers. I mean, 43 and 36 points. He puts up another 30 bomb in this one. I mean, how can you deny him?
I like the breakdown. I think he's going to go off as well. I saw his numbers were, I think it was 28.5 points. And Golden State allows the 4th most points to that particular position. T, what do you think?
Yeah, man, I think this is a big motivation spot for the Sacramento Kings. Golden State has historically owned the Kings. They have the win from earlier on the season in Golden State. Sacramento's good at home, man. They're 4-1 this season at home. The Warriors have kind of struggled a little bit with the suspension of Draymond Green. This can clinch their the Kings in-season tournament.
Draymond is actually back tonight.
Draymond's back tonight. Okay. I'm not gonna let that change my pick or anything like that. This game they can clinch their in-season tournament spot. Like I said, it's a big motivation spot for the Kings. I'm expecting a good game from De'Aaron Fox, a bonus. I think the Oracle is gonna be rocking, and I got Sacramento money line.
Nice.
Light the beam, Toronto says. Light the fucking beam. But you cannot tell me though this is a weird spot. Whoever wins the tournament. So doesn't this kind of play into like the NBA's like favor of like whoever they want to win is probably going to win, right? I mean, the line's -2. You can't say it's rigged for either side.
They're mad at Draymond. They're mad at Draymond. They don't want him in their in-season tournament. They're gonna De'Aaron's going off.
They care about Steph. I'll tell you what sells more first round NBA season tickets for television views: the Lakers versus the Warriors in Vegas over the Lakers versus the fucking Houston Rockets. Like everyone's gonna watch the Warriors game. What do we want to watch? Dylan Brooks versus LeBron James all year? I mean, this is what the NBA's came down to. Maybe you guys should take a fucking note of the NFL and maybe get a Taylor Swift in there. Throw a Kardashian on the sideline.
Kardashians have been all over the NBA. Dan Kelly says Draymond's back tonight, but for how long? He thinks Draymond gets ejected in the first half. Well, he would be a real dick if he went out there and got ejected in the first half after coming.
Yeah, but don't you think though, for the Warriors, a team that realistically has to look at themselves in the mirror every day, they all know that they're not going to win the NBA championship this year. There's just no possible way. They would be lucky to probably make it in as a non-playing seed, as a top 6 seed. Maybe their championship is in this fucking NBA in-season tournament thing. I mean, I think the Warriors are going to be playing just as hard and just as motivated as the Sacramento Kings. It's not like the Houston Rockets Dallas scenario where no matter what happens, Dallas can win the game by 50 fucking points. They're not going to make it inside the NBA in-season tournament. They're eliminated. I think that this tournament scenario is just a little bit different than the other ones. I mean, 3-0 for the Kings. The Timberwolves are 2-1. The Warriors are 2-1. I mean, the Timberwolves are kind of already somewhat eliminated, but I mean, fuck. The Kings or the Warriors finish at 3-1. The Warriors would be in it. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting look here as the game progresses, as the night progresses here. So we'll see how this thing evolves for us, guys. It's been a long show. I want to thank our boys out here. We got to put a bow on the show and let everybody get to go. So Billy Briz, I got some plays for you here. You gave us the Indiana State first half -3.5, Miami +6.5 with a sprinkle on the money line. You got the Milwaukee Bucks at -170 and the Houston Rockets at +150.
Yes, that is the card for me. I got the Rockets +4 and -110 at FanDuel, +140 on the money line at FanDuel. On Bet365, Milwaukee Bucks -170 on the money line, and the Miami Hurricane. You could probably get a better line now, +6 at -110 on Bet365, and the money line +210 at Bet365. Just a little sprinkle on the money line there, and that's the card for me today. It's a good start off though. We got Indiana State up 22-9 currently.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Billy Briz doing Billy Briz things. Billy, I know you're back. The studio's rocking. It looks good. Where can everybody find you? What you got cooking the rest of this week?
Yeah, you can find me over on X or Twitter, as the old heads call it, at Billy Briz, at Getting Bills, Billy Briz DFS on Instagram. Going live tonight with my man Colin on the Don't Tap podcast to go over UFC Austin down there in the good old state of Texas. And we got some fighters from Philly on the card. So I'm excited for this one. It should be a good episode. If you guys want to see that episode, make sure you follow me over on Instagram at Billy Briz DFS, as that's where the link will be posted for that one.
Billy, love having you on Tuesdays, man. It's good to have you back on the show. Welcome back. You're in New Jersey now again? You back in the Jersey?
Yes, back in the good old dirty Jersey. We got the Southtown 101 bar posted right here. If you guys want to get a great bugger, a fucking bugger that you fucking dreamed of, you go down to Southtown 101. You say you met Jeff Slaughter and you're a Pub Sports Radio subscriber, and you see what gets hooked up for you. Maybe he doesn't like you. Maybe he does. But I bet you if you're a supporter of Pub, you're a supporter of Southtown 101.
Shout out to our guy, Billy Briz, man. I appreciate you rolling up here tonight. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to T, our producer extraordinaire, rolling out tea time. He gave us 2 looks tonight as well. We got the Houston first half +2, Kings money line. It's been an action-packed show. Everybody in the chat, we appreciate you guys dropping in, hanging out with us. We went long. We gave you a full breakdown in the NBA tonight, though. We wanted to talk about that in-season tournament. Our guy Billy came ready to rock and how this thing was going to be affected tonight. The crew, Dan Kelly, Brent Cook, Nasty Nate, Mr. Trifecta himself. Let's Dance, the JW, Chris Mack, Ricky Bobby. Appreciate everybody dropping in there. There's our guy, Kadesh Dean, as well. Guys, let's have a great time tonight. Let's get that cash. Let's find those bags. And let's see you guys back here tomorrow. Same time, same place. Follow Pub Sports Radio. If you haven't become a member, $4.99 a month. Means a ton to us. We had new members tonight. And we hope to continue to grow this thing and bring you guys more content like this. So we appreciate you all, man. We be pubbing.